Hey there, loyal followers. It's Nerdquest Podcast coming at you. It's, just another friendly day in the neighborhood of, our podcast.
Yes.
As always, leading you is Jacob and
Josh, a.k.a. Zorgulon, Destroyer of Worlds.
And Zorgulon this week has the latest Smackdown. He's going to lay on your candy ass. Along with us, we do have two guests. We have two repeaters, actually.
Yes. Sorry about the bait and switch, guys, but Mike got called into work, so...
Yeah. So we had to audible out and get someone else we've had on, and you may remember him from our zombie podcast.
It's Matthew, also Jenkins on occasion.
Yes.
Yep.
And then from our...
Harry Potter... I think it's our second Harry Potter podcast?
Yeah, our second Pottercast.
That sounds about right.
Returning is...
Conrad. Here to shed some terror.
Now,
welcome to the Nerd Lair, boys.
A little bit of context on why Conrad in particular is here. When we started this podcast, Conrad told me, he said, hey, if you have anything on like adventure games or something like that, I'm your man. And I know that Conrad personally has a lot of experience with RPGs. Like, he is the master of Oblivion. He actually gave me a copy of Oblivion. We got into Skyrim pretty much together, and so that's just, he's a pretty good authority on this subject.
And if you guys haven't picked up already by the clues he just gave, today's podcast is about RPGs.
What?
And for you who don't know what they are and like, why are you listening
Here,
to this and
alive?
Here, go educate yourself. But Josh,
Yes.
give us a quick description of what RPGs are.
RPGs are role-playing games where you take the role of someone, usually a nameless hero. Like in Skyrim, you are the Dragonborn, and you decide what race they are and all their abilities and stuff. Your name. There's XMen Destiny, which is a lot more limited, I call it, because you are given 3 different people to choose from and 3 different power sets, but you're still playing the role of someone who's discovering their mutant powers.
Yes.
And, there are JRPGs all over. Final Fantasy, Pokemon is a JRPG. It's weird to think of it, but Pokemon is a JRPG.
Ultimately, what makes an RPG is the choices that you make. You are customizing your experience to some way, shape, or form. You can go back, and you can, in some way, play a different game.
I guess that's how you could break down an RPG just to the nitty gritty, is the fact that it comes down to being able to custom. You have a vast level of customization.
You get to make life decisions that you don't make in life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time you play it, RPG games have a very high replay value because each game is going to be different.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not as well versed in this as most of you, but so choosing what weapons you use, things like that. So would like The Legend of Zelda be an RPG or not?
No, it's because it's more focused on the adventure of Link.
It doesn't even have a leveling up system.
It doesn't. Not all RPGs do. I mean, like even tabletop, which we're also going to cover today. Tabletop
with
RPGs.
The Legend of Zelda, you are experiencing one character with a given name, walking a given path. There is no difference if you go back and play it again.
Yeah, every time you play that game, you're going to get the same story. It's going to be different, but in the end, the outcome's the same.
And besides, Link uses not so much many different weapons, so much as they are tools.
Yeah, and although you can give Link a completely different name, it still doesn't change the fact that in the end, it's just an adventure game.
Yeah. But, yeah. But like I said, we're also going to cover tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons and Dragon Age and Rifts and that sort of thing.
A few hybrid also. Hybrid tabletop games.
Do any of you guys remember the first RPG video game you played?
Yep.
What is it?
Fable.
Fable.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Fable.
Yeah, Conrad is a nut for Fable.
That's a little late. That's a little late in the RPG video game world, isn't it? Or
Not really. I mean,
when did Fable come out?
It came out. It came out on the original Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of like the first. I think it was one of the first launch titles.
For some reason I thought it was 360 when the first one came out.
Nope.
No, that was 2.
Initially, Fable came out on the original Xbox. Lionhead had a limited budget and limited amount of time, led by Peter Molyneux, who unfortunately is terrible at time management and accurately advertising his games. So ultimately, when Fable came out,
did he lead like the Half-Life?
No.
That's
Gabe Newell.
That's
Gabe Newell.
That's Valve. Gabe Newell.
I was just wondering because you said bad time management. Half-Life has very bad time management.
I love Peter Molyneux for giving giving us the Fable games.
He's just terrible at He's good at overhyping games.
Yes. So ultimately, what ends up happening with Peter is he'll advertise a game that he cannot deliver.
Right.
And that's what happened with Fable. But we still got a really great game with Fable. The problem, Fable. The problem that we had with Fable was it was shorter than intended. There wasn't quite as much as they wanted to put in.
What is the setting of Fable? I've never played it, so...
It takes place in Albion.
Which is totally not Britain.
Yep, totally not Britain. And you've got this Heroes Guild, people blessed with extraordinary potential that are tasked with the protection or the destruction of the world as it is.
Yeah.
And they are contracted and whatnot.
It was one of the first few games that implemented a moral choice system, that I recall.
Yep.
And it was pretty well done, considering it was
very well done.
Very well done. I've yet to see a moral choice system work as well as it did in Fable.
Now, a while after Fable came out, and with the success that Fable had, they released Fable: The Lost Chapters. In which case, it extended. They had more time. They had increased the budget a little bit.
It was basically Fable with DLC.
Yeah, they were able to finish the full game experience, so we got more locations, more weapons, more spells, more items.
Question: didn't you get to kill the Guildmaster?
Yes.
I'm all for it.
Thank God.
Yep.
Your health is low. Do you have any potions?
You could always turn that off. You could always turn it off.
You can?
Yes.
Yeah,
you can turn it off.
he sent me a picture when he found out that you could turn it off.
Yep.
Why don't they
and
advertise that?
Fable, so for all intents and purposes, Fable never happened. It was always Fable: The Lost Chapters.
Fable: The Lost Chapters is basically the reboot of the original.
Yep. And that was my real first RPG
experience.
Yep. And even still today, I play Fable: The Lost Chapters, an original Xbox game that I can go back to all the time and still feel like I'm playing a new great experience. And so Fable has been the center, the heart of my gaming experience.
As for me, the first RPG I ever played, that's actually really difficult to pinpoint. I know that I didn't start playing RPGs till a little bit later in my gaming experience. I think my first Western RPG, not JRPG, because that was easily Pokemon Blue. But my first Western RPG was probably actually Fallout 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
I think so. I mean, as everyone that has ever been in our following us ever knows, my memory is atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I was friends with one guy who lent me the game the year it came out, 2008, and I played it and I was like, what is this magic? And as everyone also knows, as I mentioned before in another podcast, Fallout 3 is my favorite video game of all time.
Mm-hmm. First, I was gonna say Final Fantasy for my first JRPG, but now that you mention it, and I forgot that Pokemon is in that realm.
Yeah,
Pokemon was probably my first JRPG. My first Western was probably actually Knights of the Old Republic on the Xbox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't play either of those until way after.
Great games. I got Knights of the Old Republic is a game that I put way too many hours in.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. True. But it was a great game. Now, you do... quick spoiler.
Spoiler on the Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah,
that's true.
Spoilers for games that old.
In case you can't tell, guys, from the last, I don't know, every podcast, we don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, that's true. You really only have two different ways to end Knights of the Old Republic.
Good or bad.
But there is a shit ton of stuff in between that you can do.
And
I've played both of them. I only finished the second one.
And dictate. I actually never played the second one because I could never find it. But yeah, there's a bunch of things you can do in the middle to dictate which ending. And even if there's even a point where if you're you could be good the whole time. There's one pivotal point towards the end of the game where you make one choice and you're automatically back on the dark side.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And no, it's just a great game. I would highly recommend it. I'm actually surprised they never came out with like an HD remake for the 360.
Oh, that'd be cool.
My only problem with that game was the fact that it wasn't like free swinging. Like you had a set.
it was-
you had
For all
set-
intents and purposes,
It was-
KOTOR was intended as a PC RPG.
It
Okay.
really was.
Because it,
But
you
it
see
was-
that combat setup
Mm-hmm.
in PC games
All the time.
And also, my thing,
It's
I
very
do not
common in
like
MMOs.
RPGs that are meant for PC that are put onto console. Games like Dragon Age Origins
Mm-hmm.
with pretty much the same exact setting up your combat. The game is paused.
Yeah.
Choose who will hit who with what attack.
It's basically it's a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was-
it detracts from the game. But KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, they did it in such a way that it was
It
paused
worked.
for a short time. It worked. I didn't feel disconnected from it, and it ultimately worked.
Like it was fun. I just didn't like the fact that like I could just like stack up an attack and I'd sit there for like a good 10, 15
Yeah, go make a
seconds. I wouldn't be
sandwich.
doing anything.
You could literally early on, actually later on in the game, you could just walk up to a group of bad guys, be like, okay, everyone engage in combat, walk away, come back. The fight's over.
Yeah.
Because there is an auto setup.
That's
that it would
true.
do for
Yeah,
you.
I forgot about that. That, like if you don't hit a button, he'll just automatically just swing
Yeah.
whenever.
Also, one thing I wasn't a fan of that game was the you don't really know if you're going to hit or not. Like with
Yeah,
with
you
other
could be
RPG
standing in front, like 2 feet in front of someone, and say swing, and it'll do an internal dice roll,
Yeah.
and it'll go miss, ha,
I
and
do.
it swings
I do
and
remember that game having a lot of lag for just a
Yes,
console
there was-
for offline console game.
Yeah,
and I was like that.
It was laggy. It was buggy. Some of the audio. I was playing this game just the other day.
Yeah.
but it was
there-
endearing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a game that you really love, and as a Star Wars fan, you can just instantly connect with.
Yeah, it was. I like the universe that is in the fact that it was what they say, 2,500 or
Something like that.
5,000 years before the actual.
2,500.
I think it was 2,500. 2,500 years before the actual like the
Republic.
movies took place.
Okay, now slight change of topic.
Yeah.
Change. Top 3 favorite Western RPGs.
Knights of the Old Republic because that's what got me in.
Okay.
Skyrim. I would, even though I didn't finish it, I did play a lot of it, and I would say probably New Vegas.
Okay.
I didn't play. I didn't play a lot of Fallout 3.
All right. Fair. I'll let you go this time. Jenkins.
I'm with my brother's obvious answer as Fallout 3 being the top.
Fallout 3.
Other than that, I've never actually gotten as much into RPGs. I mean, like Fallout 3 and then Fallout New Vegas, and I'm one of the only people I know that never actually really got into Skyrim.
Mhm.
So
That's a game where you either get into it
Or
you
you
don't. Like when I got it, I was like, I'm just gonna play this casually, and like 6 hours later, I was like, okay, 2 more hours, and then I'll be done.
And then 6 more hours later.
Yeah.
one that I'm fairly certain is an RPG because I mentioned before, I'm not sure, is Mass Effect.
Yeah, it's an RPG.
Mass Effect
I
is a
like
good
I like
RPG.
Mass Effect.
I've only played Mass Effect 2, but I was a huge fan of it. It was something my friends highly recommended because I was looking for a new game to play, and like just play Mass Effect. I mean, you can get a ton of hours into it and like not even touch the main storyline.
Exactly.
What about you, Conrad?
Well, for starters, I'm Fable.
Right.
I know that game left, right, forward, back, upside down. I can play that game in my head.
At
It's my favorite.
At that point, it might be called an obsession.
Then
Passionate.
very, very passionate. Second favorite game, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. That was another game that I knew so much about. I was an Oblivion guru. There were points where I had mastered that game to an extent where no one could touch me.
Now, you and Josh have... I didn't mean to cut you off real quick. You and Josh have both played Oblivion and Skyrim.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which would you suggest?
Oh, Skyrim. No, sorry, it depends on which one you've played. If you've already played Skyrim, it's really... you can't play Oblivion again.
Okay.
Elder Scrolls has kind of almost, I guess, crippling curse in that once you've played a later Elder Scrolls, you can't play any of the previous Elder Scrolls, no matter how great they've been.
Yeah, I mean, I've played...
Is it just due to the fact that they're lacking, like,
They
mechanics?
They
lack
are-
in mechanics, structure, graphics.
They've
Bethesda does a very, very good job with the Elder Scrolls in improving a ton
It's like-
I gotta
each
say,
and every single time.
Skyrim's probably one of the most beautifully, just graphic-wise games
yeah.
I've ever seen.
I mean, it's like, okay, so you see there's Harry Potter 1,
Mm-hmm.
and there's Harry Potter 2, which is a sequel that was about the same quality, a little better.
Yeah.
But the way that the Elder Scrolls series works is, first there was Arena, then Daggerfall was light years ahead of that.
Yeah.
And then there was Morrowind, which to this day is a lot of people's favorite Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
And that was cutting edge. That was massively ahead.
Morrowind was the first Elder Scrolls console game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was Oblivion, which was more advanced than Morrowind. A lot of people don't like it as much.
Yep.
And then there was Skyrim, and the difference between even just Oblivion and Skyrim is staggering.
Really?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's
Extremely.
there's no, like in Oblivion, there's no dual wield, there's no shield bash in Oblivion, which made me really sad.
No, there's Shield Bash in Oblivion.
There is?
Yep.
Not that I ever noticed.
I mean, a lot of the major difference between Oblivion and Skyrim, Oblivion gave you a lot more control over details. And instead of where in Skyrim you have armor, gauntlets, boots, headgear, in Oblivion you had headgear, gauntlets, leggings, chest piece, and boots. There were so much. There was spell crafting,
which I liked personally.
Your own different levels.
Enchanting
of
was
spell.
a lot different.
Yeah,
I've never got into enchanting or alchemy.
very,
in
very
Skyrim.
different.
Yeah, well, but
I like enchanting.
they've actually discussed why they eliminated some of that, and they eliminated, for example, armor and legs are now the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's because this way they can load so many more NPCs and more world space. into
Okay.
it. So I'm perfectly okay with sacrificing the leggings to armor and getting more out of the world.
For quest and story, I choose Oblivion, just because there were some great stories, great side quests that I absolutely loved. The Dark Brotherhood and Oblivion. There was one point where you have a contract. You have a contract that is you go to this party.
Yep. It's my favorite. I think that's everyone's favorite Oblivion
Your
quest.
contract with the Dark Brotherhood is to go to this party and kill everyone at the party. But
and you can just go in and slaughter them all.
you can just, hello, I'm here, have a sword out, boom, boom, kill everyone. But you get a bonus if you make sure that no one knows that it's you that is killing everybody. You kill them off one by one. Now, the thing about the party is
Actually, it does do that. It does kind of turn into Clue, because when you start taking down people, everyone starts accusing each other.
Yeah,
everyone's like, that sounds really good.
It must be this guy because he does skooma.
Or he hates this type of person. Yeah,
that's the type of mission that sounds like you save right before you start, and make two save slots, because then
I made like 5.
One save slot you go and you do it like where you
one save slot you go kill this person first, and then this person. Next save you
does it
do
really,
in a completely
does it really
different order. Yeah, there's like 5 people, like 5 or 6 different people at this party. Now the party is the mansion gets locked, and somewhere hidden in the mansion is a chest of treasure and a key to the exit.
This really does sound like Clue.
Yeah,
it's supposed to.
And everyone is searching for this treasure. Everyone's searching for this treasure, but of course there is no treasure. You have the only key, and everyone is locked in with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly,
and ultimately, when it gets down to like the last 2 people, you can talk one of the people into killing the other remaining person.
Wow. Yeah, you can say, "Hey, it's clearly that person because this
I'm
reason,
innocent,
and we should team up and kill that person." And the person goes, "Okay." Pulls out a sword and goes to town, and whichever one lives, guess who your next target is.
I mean, the Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion had a lot of great missions. There was one point where I dropped a moose head on somebody
I did that.
while they were reading.
Nice.
It was like a mounted moose head.
Okay.
So they were sitting at by the fire and reading, and just
boom. I actually, personally, like I said, I didn't get into Skyrim. I actually got into Oblivion a little bit more because, like Conrad said, it's in the details a little bit more.
Yep.
As
before we continue, you still had to finish your list, because you had Morrowind, Fable,
Oblivion.
Oh, Fable and Oblivion. Sorry.
Fable, Oblivion, and then my third is tough. I mean, KOTOR, Mass Effect, Red Dead.
Forgot about Red Dead. Yeah, Red Dead's technically an RPG. It's
on the border.
It's very strictly an RPG, but it's very different because you are
playing the role. But
I honestly have to give it to KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Knights of the Republic.
And-
It was great.
As for me, I mean, everyone knows my top. Fallout 3.
Yes.
Then is probably going to be Skyrim. Because the quest is shorter. I actually prefer the storyline, the main quest storyline in Skyrim to Oblivion, partially because of those damn Oblivion gates. There were like 100 you had to close before the main quest could continue.
I like the Oblivion Gates, but for main story, if we could combine both of them,
That would be so fucking
That would
cool.
be
The only
But,
issue I had with
if like Oblivion Gates open, and Marin's Dagon, and the
Alduin?
I feel like we're gonna have to have an Elder,
We will.
strictly
We're going
Elder
to.
Scrolls podcast.
With I love the graphics. I like the revamp of the Khajiit and the Argonians. They look a lot more animal than they did in Oblivion.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people who likes the slimming down of the skills. I mean, I'm a little sad because there's no unarmed skill now,
Yeah.
but like athletics and acrobatics, we really didn't need them.
Wait, are you talking about like when you level up in Skyrim, how you go to
Yeah.
that where there was more?
Oh, yeah.
there were
In
quite a
Oblivion.
few other skills.
There's already a shit ton.
In Oblivion, there was literally one skill for jumping.
Yeah.
You could sit in a room and jump in Oblivion, and you would level up.
And if you got your skill up to like 100, you could actually jump on water, which I thought was pretty cool.
And
but-
you could,
awesome.
walking around in Oblivion, level up. Punching
Athletics.
someone in the face, level up.
Okay.
Just go beat the shit out of people.
Yeah.
I-
Instead of one-handed and two-handed, there was blade and blunt. And so blade was your swords and daggers. It was swords, daggers, short swords, long swords, great swords.
Axes.
And axes were blunt.
Really?
Because they use
Yeah.
momentum rather than actual blade.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
okay.
swords are sharp, axes are just kind of, they have a wedge and you just kind of hack with them. But I actually like the one-handed, two-handed more. I'm okay with the armor sets. Light and heavy works for me. I really like the slimming down of magic because mysticism was a school of magic in Oblivion that had telekinesis and
Soul Trap.
It was which were figured into alteration and conjuration respectively.
It was basically the where does this go? Don't know. Mysticism.
Yeah, that's really what it was.
So you had Fallout 3, Skyrim.
And you know what? XMen Destiny. It is not the best game I've ever played, but it allows me to live out a childhood fantasy.
Of being an
I get
X-Man.
to join the X-Men. There is literally an entire mission where you fight alongside Wolverine.
Oh,
That's awesome.
and there's when you fight Magneto and the Juggernaut to free Cyclops.
That
Dude,
sounds
okay,
awesome.
So ultimately, with the Elder Scrolls, Skyrim for graphics and gameplay, Oblivion for the details for the story.
So you would suggest play Oblivion first and then go into Skyrim?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. But get as much as you can out of Oblivion because once
Yeah.
you play Skyrim, you'll never go back.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to play Morrowind. It was extremely difficult.
I had that problem with, this doesn't fall into RPG, but it's on track with where we're going right now. I had that problem with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends played Assassin's Creed 2 first, and that's what got them hooked into the series. I'm
And
like,
then
you
you tried
should
to
play
play the
one
first
because
one.
one's awesome. And I went back to play one. I'm like, holy shit, still a good game, but
It's
there's some
repetitive,
tedious
it's
shit. It's
tedious.
repetitive. The 400 fucking flags you had to collect.
for the fucking flags. But
The feathers were for you.
shut the fuck up. No, but okay, about X-Men Destiny. I mean, not only does it do this, but you get to choose one energy projection as a power. Since I was 8 years old, I've had a character that I wanted to put into the Marvel universe who has energy projection as a power. So there's that. My favorite part of the entire. If you've played it and haven't beaten it, stop what you're doing, keep the podcast on, and beat it, because my favorite part of the entire game comes after you beat it. Not only do you get a costume that's the vintage X-Men costume, so like the yellow and black, like for the first 5 X-Men wore, but there is while the credits are going, it's easily the best way to get someone to watch the credits.
Yeah.
You're in an arena with all these purifiers, mutant haters who want to kill all mutants, and then whether you sided with the Brotherhood or the X-Men, every member of that team is in that arena with you, and all you're doing is fighting off these people.
I got sick of them stealing my kills.
Oh,
I
I would like to say something in X-Men Destiny.
Yeah,
I retract my answer previously. X-Men Destiny is my last favorite RPG. I just forgot it counted.
because no, but it's like I watch things, and one of the things that I saw, and you really had to be watching because they're all moving so fast. I caught a glimpse of Colossus lifting up Wolverine and throwing him.
Oh, nice.
Every
Fastball
comic book
special.
nerd knows the fastball special.
Yeah.
And it was things like that. It's fighting alongside Cyclops, who is like, I love Cyclops. I used to dislike him, but he is a true leader of the X-Men. And I just fighting alongside him was I woke up the inner child in me, and he was crying of joy.
I'm also going to point out, if you're an X-Men fan, it's always pretty much been a dream of yours to fight a Sentinel.
Yeah,
That happens.
There's a boss that's a Sentinel, which are the robots that are programmed to kill all mutants.
Oh,
and they're
gotcha.
like 50 feet tall.
Yeah, you fight one on the top, and you're on top of a building, and it's flying around blasting at you. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's also where the difficulty curve says, "Hey, I'm here."
And the costumes look they look like they were ripped out of the comics and put into this.
Plastered on them.
Yeah, but
In a good way.
It's a very comic book X-Men game.
It's also got a lot of fan service. So there are a lot of characters that are there specifically for.
Yeah.
We had this. Okay,
Emma Frost, you dirty, dirty little girl.
before we started the podcast, Conrad came over and he was playing XMen Destiny, and there's this whole line.
Emma Frost.
Emma Frost. If you know Emma Frost, she dressed not conservatively,
Very lightly.
not yet. She dressed
Skanky.
Yes. Well, there's this whole thing, and just the way she talks. We were discussing. There had to have been a sex scene cut out of this game.
I mean, Emma Frost. Oh, I can't wait to see your powers.
Basically,
That was the intro.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's like that, but I mean, it was really cool. I mean, hell, at one point, Nightcrawler saves you from a falling bridge. Just poof,
falling
teleport,
bridge.
poof.
That-
By falling, I mean Magneto threw it.
Yeah, of course
the
you did.
Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, so I
By
just
the way, very excited for X-Men Days of Future Past.
me too, and I know it's one of my brother's favorite comic arcs
because
because
the Days of Future Past. Because I love
And I mean-
dystopian and the Sentinels,
and I mean,
taking over North
there's
America.
Patrick Stewart, and I don't remember his name, but he's the guy from First Class, are both Professor Xavier.
Yeah,
They meet.
Michael Fassbender.
Him. No,
Yeah.
Michael Fassbender is Magneto.
Oh, you're talking about the guy who plays
Xavier.
James McAvoy.
Yes. Yeah.
Peter Dinklage is in it.
And Colossus is coming back, and Wolverine's there,
Well, of
and
course he is.
I,
Storm.
I think both Mystiques are there.
No,
No?
I don't believe there is.
I'm not sure how I would feel about that either way. I'd be terrified if there was.
I like Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique more than I like Rebecca Romaine.
Question:
You know what? If they're both in it, I don't care.
I'm not going to
Question.
care, but I'm just saying.
Aren't they tying it back into the previous X-Men trilogy, or
I think
that's
so.
just a rumor?
I think they are.
I don't think I'm a fan of that, actually.
Okay, well, back on track. Sorry,
Yes.
RPGs.
Okay, so now we're covering key differences between JRPGs or Japanese role-playing games and Western RPGs.
And key differences, so not just the size of the weapons.
they
Just-
suck.
Well, to set up JRPGs, I think a big difference in it is that the storyline's a lot more linear.
Yes.
You could still
very
go
linear.
out and do stuff around the world in the
Not
universe.
really.
Well, you can, but it's a lot more limited.
Yeah, it's limited, and then
Or just extremely not there. I mean, JRPGs, there is an alleyway. It's just whether you want to run, jump, walk, or skip down that alleyway, and in which direction you want to go down that alleyway.
But
I could disagree with that. Me coming from my Final Fantasy background, and there's a lot of traveling you can do. You don't have to but like he said, it's limited. But you could still go off and do stuff and add a little side
I'm
quests.
also not a fan of typically JRPGs that utilize turn-based combat. Or they'll try to integrate real-time and turn-based, which never ends well because
Lost Odyssey.
exactly. Well, I mean, and it's tedious. You're running around trying not to get hit as you're flipping through menus. That's not tense. That's not creating tension. That's creating irritation and anger.
Stress.
Well,
Star Ocean did that.
yeah, and I don't like. I just don't like turn-based combat because personally I've never seen a fight where one person, quoting Yahtzee Crawshaw, where two people are standing opposite ends of the room, they take turns running over at each other and slapping them in the face.
Yeah.
Never seen a fight like that. I'd love to, but
I think one of the really big differences with JRPGs and RPGs is the customization. You can't really customize your character, but the weapons,
Right.
You can get so many different types of weapons and you can do so many different types of things with them. Leveling up, at least in Final Fantasy, I've always liked. I've always in that aspect, that's pretty much the biggest differences. You don't there's always going to be one, at least Final Fantasy wise, there's always going to be one outcome in the end. Mm-hmm. You can't change that.
Oh, you
can change some of the endings, but but that's after the big boss fight.
I'm also going to retract my previous statement. There is one game that I really like turn-based combat in, and it's a JRPG. Pokemon. I am a Pokemon nut, in case you guys haven't picked that up yet.
But, so, where do you want to go with the whole JRPG? Well, are we doing JRPG versus RPG, or just differences?
No, because if we do JRPG versus RPG,
you're
going to never going to end.
Because
the two hosts will murder each other.
Yeah, that's true. We'll never have another podcast.
And then you would suffer. But then there's favorite JRPGs. Top 3. Jake, you can start.
Well, there's Final Fantasy 8. There's Final Fantasy 10.
Not 7?
You know, I'm gonna get hate for this. I wasn't a big fan of 7.
Well, I wasn't either.
I played it once. I was a lot younger.
Yeah, that probably has something to do with it.
It was one of my first Final Fantasies I played, and so it was a little bit hard for me to get into it.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. I just it wasn't a huge. It didn't really affect me like 8 did. Or 10 did. I love 10. There's always something about 10 that I loved. And I can't explain it, but it's definitely up there. Final Fantasy 10 is my all-time favorite Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. And then it'd go 8, and then the next JRPG would probably be Pokemon, and I'd probably go Pokemon Blue.
Okay. Jenkins.
Well, seeing as I don't have a large experience with JRPGs, I'm going to say my top favorite...
That's largely because I don't usually allow them in the house.
No, my top favorite is Pokemon Sapphire.
Yeah.
Because that's one that really brought me into the Pokemon universe, although I played a couple of others.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Pokemon Silver, and actually when I was really young, I had a PS1 Digimon game that I really loved, which was a JRPG.
Oh, there's a Digimon game?
There was. It was really cool.
You played the role of a kid who got dragged into the Digimon world to be a breeder to help free other Digimon from a data corruption.
That sounds cool.
It sounds.
I know, and you actually get to hatch your Digimon, and you can actually choose different Digivolution
I never got into that show either.
The way that you raise it depends on how it changes. So you feed it differently and you train it differently and stuff.
If you beat it several times a day,
it turns into a monster and eats you. You can do that.
You can beat it?
Not exactly.
Not beat
you can
per se.
Mistreat it.
Yeah, you can run it too hard. Don't let it sleep and stuff like that.
Wake up!
Sleep. Only work.
JRPGs. Although it got back at you if you did stuff like that. Turn into what was it?
Numamon,
which are basically...
They throw poop. That's what they do.
That's their only attack. No, they're piles of sludge. It's a pile of sludge that throws fecal matter. I mean, that's what it becomes if you mistreat it.
Well, it can become others if you mistreat it. It's just if you mistreat it in a specific way, the most common way, it becomes a Numamon.
Alright.
I'm going to have to go with Pokemon Emerald.
I knew that was coming.
Pokemon Emerald, that's my favorite of
Conrad and I also bond over our love of Pokemon games.
Yep. Then Lost Odyssey, I did play that for a while. It's a continuous grind, but it was a very beautiful game.
RPGs in general have a lot of grind.
For a 360 game also, it was on 4 discs.
Wow.
Final Fantasy 13, I want to say was 3.
LA Noire was 4.
I don't know if they needed to do that, or it's just because it's an Odyssey. Odyssey is a 4 story.
On Xbox, LA Noire was 4 discs?
Yeah.
PS3 was only 1.
Yeah, because PS3,
PS3 uses
better
Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Would that be it?
Yeah, because Blu-ray you can fit, I think it's up to 8 times more data on a disc than a DVD.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would make sense. So I imagine Final Fantasy 13 was probably only cut down to 2 discs or even 1.
Yeah.
But I never played 13. I read the reviews before I started playing it, and they're like it's really it's the most linear game ever. You don't get a lot of time to explore anything. It's really one big fight after another.
One of the Final Fantasy games is
some of them are good.
13 hours of gameplay, but 10 of the hours was tutorial.
What?
Oh
all
my
throughout,
God.
What
all
is
throughout
this?
the
What is
Final
this?
Fantasy game.
I feel like I should know this
like,
one. I've
10
heard about
hours,
it, and I can't remember which
10
one
hours
it is.
later, it is still giving you tutorial message.
That
wanna
sounds like 7 actually.
I don't know. No, that wasn't
That
7.
sounds-
I wanna say that was-
Wait,
might
we
have
got
been
a shout out.
5.
We got a shout out. Shout out to Adam of the Ocean because they followed us as soon while we were recording this.
Right
so
on.
I got
Shout out to them. I do know who that is. I told her about
Oh,
the podcast earlier, so thank you for following us, and I'll thank you later after the podcast.
And
All right.
So my third JRPG that I like, Pokemon Silver, because they had a day and night.
I think
Yeah,
that was the
really cool.
last. I think that was the last Pokemon I played on
No,
Game Boy.
no, I didn't play Pokemon Silver. I played Pokemon Gold.
Yeah.
And
That was Game Boy Color
it was
still,
really,
right?
It was really yeah, Game Boy Color.
Yeah, because after
Um,
it went to Game Boy Advance, I stopped because I didn't get a Game Boy Advance.
Oh,
I still have a
sorry.
Game Boy Advance.
So do I.
I do too.
I have my
uh,
pink one.
With Game Boy, with Pokemon Gold and Silver, it had a day and night setting, and so
Yeah.
when you were when it was at nighttime in real life, because you set the clock in the game to the same time, you'd go out and you'd go into the tall grass and you'd find nothing but Ho-Oh. Nothing but Ho-Oh.
Ho-Oh?
Hoodoo.
Ho-Oh? Yeah.
Hoodoo.
Ho-Oh's a legendary Pokemon.
You can also find Spinarak in some areas.
Yeah, like-
But
But
That's
you're
pretty-
finding a ton of night
That was
Pokemon, but
for
then you
Game
go...
Boy Color. That's pretty advanced.
That's
Yeah.
pretty innovative just for
also-
handheld gaming where
Sorry.
it was.
Oh, sorry about that.
Don't make me tape your hand down.
I keep accidentally hitting the table.
I will get
Also,
the duct tape.
Just an offhand mention about Pokemon Crystal is also the first one where you gotta
Yeah.
choose your gender.
And
Yeah.
then
Huh?
also...
You get to choose the gender of your character, but in the originals, you can give your character a girl name, and then also put like the girl symbol next to her,
Right.
and stuff. So you got to choose. Yeah, I guess you're right.
So I mean, yeah,
The
during
Avatar.
At nighttime
Yeah.
you'd go out and you'd find just like 2 or 3 nighttime Pokemon, but then during the day you'd go out there and there was a ton of daytime.
Was there a
Pokemon.
way? Was there a way to get like fast forward through that, or did you just have to wait till it's day outside?
You have to wait.
That's
But you
stupid.
So
But
play,
no,
play
but
the game
it's-
at a certain time, and the screen also got darker when it was nighttime.
The thing is, you didn't. And like houses had lights on, but you
Yeah.
didn't. You didn't have to play it at night because it depended on what time you set it as. Time still passed.
Yeah.
when
And
it
so
was
you could
dark.
like
Oh,
set it
okay.
to midnight at noon or whatever,
Or
and
vice
so
versa
then
or whatever.
half your day is at daytime and half your day is at nighttime.
Now, could you go? Could you couldn't change the settings after that?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
You said it at the beginning. I mean,
Yeah, very beginning.
but yeah, I mean, that was. I thought that was a really cool concept.
Oh, okay. So, I found this post on Tumblr where you can play like Pokemon from Blue to Gold on your computer for free.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started playing Silver, and like when you first start, it says what time is it? I'm like, I don't know what this matters, but okay. And it's like, is it daylight savings time? Or I'm like, what the fuck does this matter? Just like play the damn game.
well, yeah,
but
no,
yeah.
but yeah, it depends. That changes what
matter.
Pokemon you can find.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's innovative for a handheld game and Pokemon or a Game Boy Color.
Yeah, that was.
Wow.
So,
Also, I did see a funny post on Tumblr the other day about the Poke Centers. And it showed the
Oh, yeah.
evolution of Poke Centers. And it's like, it started off as just like a tiny brick building. It kept going, and then it slowly got bigger and
Yeah,
bigger.
and then, yeah,
And it
another
got to, like,
massive.
this huge, massive, looks like a hospital. It's like, for a non-profit organization, they're doing pretty well.
yeah.
Well, they're the only hospital for the Pokemon in the entire world. They're
They
going
all
to
hire the
continue.
same women.
I saw a different Pokemon Center comic, and it's like, oh, we will heal your Pokemon. They take the Pokeballs out back behind the counter, and then they throw the Pokeballs into an incinerator, and then they go over to like the shelf with tons of Pokeballs, and have Pokemon names labeled on
Oh,
them.
that's
and
so
they get
screwed
you-
up.
They get you a new one of
That's
whatever.
hilarious.
That's horrible.
I think that would make the game better. So, before we move on, because we got to get to tabletops, who here is going to buy X and Y?
I would like to. I really would like to.
And if
I'd
he
like
gets-
to, but that would require me to buy a 3DS.
I'm planning on
and
it.
then
If my brother gets one, I'm probably going to get one because he gets
What
one,
we
I
do.
get the other.
I might wait a couple more generations.
I don't know. I think I'm
Maybe-
kind of.
maybe
you can run diagonally. I'm sold.
I just want those games to come to console. I just think it would make everything so
No,
much
I
better.
remember there was a Pokemon game.
especially like on live if you could adventure with friends.
You know how much money they would make off
I
that
know,
if they're like, you know,
I
what,
know.
we're gonna do this year.
Multiplayer
Hang on.
Pokemon.
They're like, hang on, we have something
co-op
innovative,
Pokemon?
or not innovative. We have brand new news at E3 this year. Instead of just bringing back the same 4 games in different iterations, Pokemon
Pokemon
it's coming
World.
to console.
And then the world died.
And I'd
happiness.
freak out. That's
Yes.
the only time I would buy. That's the only way I'd buy like a Wii U.
There was one Pokemon game on console. It was on GameCube, and it was like Dark Shadows.
Gale of Darkness.
Yeah.
Well, that
And-
wasn't the first. That was the only one. They did have Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Snap.
And
Yeah.
Coliseum.
I love Pokemon Snap.
But I like the Pokemon game on the GameCube because then you had like dark Pokemon that were like consumed by darkness, and you
So
had
were
like
you able
some
to travel?
special
Was
Pokemon.
it kind of like the Game Boy game?
It really wasn't.
I can't really remember.
It was more like a tower-based continuous battle game.
That one.
That seems kind of.
But like, okay, so just imagine this, and followers imagine this as well. Okay, imagine comes out for imagine a game that comes out for.
You're not closing your eyes.
For like for all systems, so Xbox, PS. In this case, I'm thinking Xbox 360, PS3, and it's a Pokemon console game that allows you to, one, turn off and on, drop in, drop out. So like, if I'm playing it and Jake wants to drop into my game, he can. Two, it allows for, if you want, full MMO experience. So you can go around, battle other people, like. You know, I could battle Conrad over it while still adventuring with Jake, but you can turn that on and off.
Have entire player double battles.
Yes. Like, so, me and Jake versus Matt and Conrad.
But you do realize that if you were traveling through the wild, if they made it a Pokemon MMO,
Okay.
so let's say somewhat like Warcraft, World of Warcraft, you're traveling through the wild and you hit a monster, and you're both attacking it and it's turn-based, you do realize you're essentially playing a Final Fantasy Pokemon version, right?
You know what? It's Pokemon. I'm okay with that.
Okay. I'm just seeing because you give me shit about Final Fantasy.
Oh, I do.
and
I do.
That's
all the
'cause-
time.
That's because
But it's not Pokemon. But,
He's prejudiced.
Just as good.
but for my, my list of top favorite JRPGs,
All gonna be Pokemon.
Pokemon Gold / Heart Gold, because Heart Gold was just a remake of Gold. Pokemon Ruby, because I was a boss on Pokemon Ruby. My level 100 Aggron agrees.
Or the Gyarados that nobody could hit.
His evasiveness was like 5 million. And Pokemon Blue, because I still have mine and I experiment with it occasionally.
You know, Pokemon Green. There was a Pokemon Green, and it only
Yes,
came out
Japan.
in Japan.
You know
And
what
the
I
sprites
realized
were-
about Game Boy cartridge, or what I found out about Game Boy cartridge colors? They have a lifespan.
Yeah.
There is a point where they won't work anymore.
Yeah.
I never knew that. I found that out like a couple weeks ago.
yeah.
Do you know what's weird? My Pokemon Silver, its battery ran out before my Pokemon Red did.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that they, one thing they could have done to and they could have donated half the proceeds to breast cancer awareness or something. They could have made a Pokemon Pink.
That would have been cool.
I think that would have been a really cool idea that Nintendo could have done. I mean, they did have I guess more colors before they had to go to letters.
Yeah, see, I think that was a bad move, because now they only got 24 others they can use?
Oh yeah, only 24 more games.
But then after that, then I'm gonna go color and letter. Red A, red B, red.
I'll probably actually go to numbers. This is gonna make more sense. It's Pokemon 1, the sequel, Pokemon 2.
Why did I do this in the first place?
Alright, so, getting back on topic.
Or just Pokemon Gen.
Yeah. Okay, so it's dice versus dice engines, like in video games. For example, which do you prefer? There's dice like you use for Dungeons and Dragons and for our games, or there's in KOTOR or in Dragon Age, where it uses an internal mechanical dice roll.
I kind of I'm gonna go and say I prefer the internal mechanical dice roll because as you level up, it increases your chances of getting a hit. When it comes to tabletop, it's I can roll for 4 ones in a row, and then I want to rage quit and just blow up the table.
Well, that can happen in Dragon Age and stuff.
Yeah, and with games like KOTOR and Dragon Age that use an obvious in-game dice roller, all games use some form of probability thing that in some way, shape, or form is a dice thing.
I just like the internal one because my odds were a lot better at hitting stuff than...
apparently. Because of the ones you rolled.
Although your wolf did pretty well. I unequivocally prefer dice engines because I can see what I got, and so I can have a general idea of what I need to do it, and it at the very least feels like I can affect it, even if I actually can't. Whereas in a dice engine, I have no idea whatsoever if I'm going to be able to hit or not.
Right. I prefer actual dice as well, and that's because, for a lot of the reasons, but primarily because if you roll dice with an internal mechanic, it's never truly random. It's always the machine based. So machines by nature can't be random.
Yeah.
They can select one, but there's always going to be some kind of pattern to it. Whereas I like the randomization that real dice gives.
Like 2 20s in a row.
Yeah, right.
You better go buy a lottery ticket after that one.
I did have 2 20s in a row one game.
Did you go buy a lottery ticket?
No,
after
I should have.
Probably should have.
One, it was a Star Wars one. One was a forced jump. The other was a stab.
Nice.
So I added an extra D6 for the jump.
I think another reason why I prefer the internal one is because I just started getting into the tabletops.
Yeah,
And so it's still really new to me, but
but you love it.
totally.
Oh, there's more customization. There tends to be more customization in the games where you use actual dice.
Well,
Then,
that's
Yeah,
true.
because it's limited by what your imagination and your GM says. And
Yeah.
I'm a pretty forgiving GM.
Conrad, did you put your input on Dice versus Dice Engine?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go into what you guys like so much about tabletop RPG. Like, what's your favorite things about it? I think why I get into it so much is it's due to the fact that what you just pointed out, your imagination is what drives the game. Like, I love like
Exactly.
as a little kid and still growing up, my imagination runs wild.
Yeah.
And it's fun just to act that stuff out, bring it to life, and just really, like, you get lost in it for a while. And afterwards, I just want to go do more of it. So I'll go, like, normally, like last time we played our tabletop, which is a medieval one,
Right.
went home and played Skyrim for like 3 hours. And then I'm also reading Game of Thrones right now, so it's just adding on to it. So I'm just on a big medieval kick right now. But it's just nice to like take my imagination and just let it go and just run with it.
Exactly the same thing. Yeah, you do a tabletop RP. You have so much control. You can do so much more. That
Everything.
yeah, you can do everything, which is not something that you can do in an RPG.
And go ahead, Jenkins.
I have 3 reasons. One is the one everybody's saying, freedom.
Yeah.
2, it's because the GM can adapt and evolve unlike any program can. And 3, if you're playing it with dice, you're probably going to be playing it with other people.
Yeah.
You can play it with friends, which is more than a lot of RPGs and video games.
It does create some really like funny moments and just
Some great stories. I mean, like, one thing, for example, with our group, for example, just in regards to the imagination aspect. I mean, we're playing a game now. Josh is both the GM and a player. I know. That's horrible. My character's a centaur healer.
A tank
centaur healer. Try to make that in an RPG. So we've got I'm a tank centaur healer. We have an elven ranger with a giant dire wolf. And then we have a Japanese oni who can turn into a bull and destroys everything in his path. Everything. And it's just it's fresh, it's new, and things you can do things like for example, Skyrim, you can't jump and then bring your sword down on someone's head.
yeah.
I did that in one game, except for with a mace.
Yeah.
And-
Ultimately, it's the difference between reading a book
And
and
watching a movie?
watching a movie. Because when you're reading a book, you are creating the image. You are
In your head.
Yeah.
And like a book allows your imagination to take control and form this world and so you get this basic concept of what this world looks like and what it's going to be like, and the movie comes out and it can be completely nothing like how you imagine it, and
Right.
it can ruin the movie for you.
Well, like, and another reason for me specifically, because I tend to GM most of the time. GM, for those of you who don't know, is Game Master.
I was in sports mode. I thought general manager.
Okay. No,
Same
but,
thing, actually.
so the GM is the one who sets the story, sets the tone, helps the plot. Well, I'm a writer, as a lot of people know. I love to write. I love to tell stories. What I'm doing is I'm having in a way that no other format can. I'm including my friends in my story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm crafting this story that they're a part of, and that's really cool on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I also like the fact that with tabletop RPGs, like Josh created like a Harry Potter and a supernatural one, and it allows us to jump into a world we've always wanted to be a part of, and kind of form our own story and our own paths in it. And it's another cool thing because when you read a book or you watch a movie and you always want to be a part of that
or
world.
create worlds that no developer, no producer could create because of things like copyrights.
And it makes something, I think, a little bit more special with the game.
And I mean, you reminded me with the Harry Potter one. It also can add depth and dimension to the world. Because I mean, for example, we're doing Jake, my father, and I actually did one of Harry Potter. We joined the Order of the Phoenix. That at this point, because it's in the 70s and that's Voldemort's first rise to power, had no name.
Yep.
And the depth that was created because we attacked the Tower of London, and as we left, Jake not only destroyed the Tower of London, but he sent the image of a phoenix up in the sky, and thus the Order of the Phoenix
was born.
So you can add depth to the story. You can add depth that you want to the stories that you love.
Yeah,
and you can make your characters have a big role in a universe that you love so much.
Yeah,
like my specialty with GMing is superhero stories, particularly Marvel.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another thing that I like about tabletop RPGs. Different GMs have different specialties.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like mine is combat. I do combat pretty well in GMing, and I plan out stories. My brother's good at improvisation and making things funny as well as fun.
Josh creates a great narrative for a story.
Thank you.
He's also good at creating the universes themselves.
Yeah.
Thanks. But and I mean, our cousin, Nick, he GM'd for us once, and he had a great structure, and the structure actually made it more fun because it made things a little more clear cut.
Yeah.
In fact, for our games, that's who I got the structure of this from.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so thanks, Nick. Any input on this one, Conrad?
No.
Alright. But there's gotta be okay, I feel like since we're talking about RPGs in general, the D&D video games have to be brought up. There was one for Xbox, there's one for Game Boy Advance. It seems like every generation there's an attempt at least to pull in a Dungeons and Dragons video game.
All I've ever seen are the movies. And those are some funny movies.
There are movies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, some D&D movies.
There are.
They're purposely made to be a comedy, right?
No. I mean,
they're movies
it's obvious. Obviously, they're trying to take something that is a tabletop RPG and turn it into a movie. And so at one point, you've got a person walking into a store, and he's like, "Oh, I need a bag of holding, a vial of poison +2," and he's saying this in the movie, and you're like.
Okay, this is. Am I supposed to laugh here?
Yeah, it's like the Mario Brothers movie.
It's very obvious. Oh, they're about to enter a bar brawl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is another one of my specialties. But the D&D video games, I actually have one on my phone. Yeah, there's a great emulator of Game Boy Advance for an iPhone.
Really?
Yeah, it's GBA for iOS. It's not on the App Store. It's an independent app that you can actually download.
Well, I don't think emulators are encouraged in the App Store.
No, they're not. But it's an independent one that you can that you don't even have to jailbreak your phone for.
All right, on.
Yeah, and
I'll look into it.
I have the D&D game. It's not good. I mean, none of the D&D video games I've ever played have ever been really good.
I can't imagine taking an RPG or a tabletop RPG into a video game can make it will make it good.
Yeah, because you have to dumb it down.
Yeah.
A lot for the limitations of video game.
If you're lonely, I suppose it's a good alternative.
However, on the other end of the spectrum is Dragon Age, which started as a video game and then became a tabletop game as well. Which I think that's really cool. It's got a very different system than Dungeons and Dragons, but which is what we've based ours on. Mm-hmm. But it's still a really cool one. I mean, it's a very enjoyable game, regardless. And I mean, it's Dragon Age basically co-op with a bunch of people. That's fucking awesome.
That's actually one of the main things that was missing from the video game.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I felt like those things need to be brought up.
Before we end this, we gotta bring up MMORPGs.
Yes.
Gotta bring up some stories of some good RPs.
No, that's gonna be near the end, and I have one important question after this. First.
Obviously, the biggest MMORPG out there right now is World of Warcraft.
Right.
It's the most popular. It's probably never going to go away. It'll come out with more iterations as time goes on. I've played it a couple times. It's a pretty fun game. I enjoy it, and I see why people like it. I'm looking. Are you guys looking forward to the Elder Scrolls Online?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I can get a computer that would run it.
Yeah.
Tentatively.
See,
I think I might have read somewhere that it might be coming to Xbox One because Xbox One will be able to run stuff
Yeah.
a full MMORPG.
Huh.
Now, I wonder if you'll be able to connect to people who are on their computers with the
You
Xbox.
should be able to. I mean,
Yeah.
there's currently a game out there, DC Universe Online. You can play it on PS3 and on
you
computer,
can.
and you
But
can mingle the
already
servers.
we have MMORPGs on Xbox 360, Defiance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for a game made by a TV producer, and usually you don't have very good TV to video game games, but Defiance is actually rather entertaining.
I'm kind of skeptical about the Elder Scrolls Online because when I had high expectations of Knights of the Old Republic going into the MMORPG, because I was like, the game was great. They did a great job. Obviously, they're going to do a really good job on this, and I've heard very mixed reviews of it, and a lot of them are not good. And I mean, I think it got to the point where like you were paying for it at first, but now they just make it free for everyone, and it's just like, well, I mean,
They can't have been doing that well.
I can't be doing that well, so it kind of throws in a concern of like, well, how well will Elder Scrolls Online fare?
We'll see. I've played World of Warcraft twice.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Really?
Really, I didn't like it. It's the same It had the same problem that Knights of the Old Republic did for me.
Okay.
Where it's the same attack animation, it's the same, and you just keep repeating
You can, in a way, you can make a combo, and in a way, it's
right, but
still
it's on the
lacks.
stack though.
Yeah.
But I prefer. I guess I just prefer real time. But ironically, there is an MMO that I really, really enjoy. Partially because one, it's about superheroes, which I find which to me is a much more attractive genre.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I play it with my brother and with my cousin who lives in Illinois.
Okay.
And hopefully soon to be our
Other cousin, his brother. But partially because it's just so massive. I mean, there's so many different areas, there's all sorts of different enemies, and different power sets.
Are you talking about DC?
It's called Champions Online.
Okay.
But I've played DCU, and that's a great game. My computer can't run it but anymore.
Yeah, my computer sucks
But
for running games.
Mine can
Champions it's good, it's massive, it's still got a comic book feel. And, like, I have a character who... I have 4 characters, one of which sits in the back and tinkers with robots and then sends them out to slaughter everything.
Yeah.
They can turn into miniguns. It's awesome.
Tinkerbolt. Then there's Ray, who is my character. That's another thing I love about this. The costume customization is pretty crazy awesome.
Yeah.
Ray is the character I've had since I was 8 years old, and I actually have him with energy blasts and flight,
Yeah.
and I am so happy about that.
If you guys want to experience a good MMORPG, but are new to it and haven't really tried it, and it's a really basic one on a computer, and I believe it's still free to download. It's called Path of Exile. I downloaded it. I played it a couple times. I had to stop because it caused my computer to overheat it.
Yeah,
But
about the same.
it's a really fun game. It's still in beta.
Right.
But so it's really stripped down. It's really basic, but you get a good feel of what an RPG is.
I would also recommend, along the same lines, actually, Champions, because it's very forgiving. The community is actually quite nice and pleasant, and it's a fairly easy game to pick up.
Yeah,
And you can create your own superhero team.
that is pretty cool.
That was one of the big things for me. It's because... Oh, and the powers are pretty variable. Like, our cousin has the one character that annoys everybody.
God,
because
stealing bastard.
it's one of the ones you have to pay to buy. They're only... most of them are, but there are some free ones, too. Basically, he can kill people by standing near them long enough, and it's incredibly annoying.
It's like if you combine, like, Ghost Rider, Spawn, and the zombie. He, decays everything around him by standing.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
It's annoying.
It's annoying
because
as hell.
Well,
because...
I know how that could get annoying if you're like.
Well, my character's a damage over time character. So he does easily upwards of 400, 500 damage with one strike.
Oh wow.
To put it in perspective, my attacks tend to be 2 to max 400 at a time. And he's like, oh, by the way, dead.
Not to mention he does a large amount of damage. Again, literally, standing next to them.
Well, yeah, so he'll lock them down in place, blast them, and so they start getting decay damage, and then walk and stand next to them and watch them just die. Kill stealing bastard. Chris, I hate you, but I love you.
Although,
Does
we've
he
got
listen?
He will be.
Okay, cool.
Although we've got a pretty cool team because my character uses ice, my brother's character uses darkness, and Chris's character uses decay. So
We are basically terror in a can. But okay, so important question relating to pen and paper gamings, which incidentally, Champions originally was a pen and paper game that was translated to an MMO.
Okay.
and it works.
Does pen and paper gaming still have a place in the world of video games?
I would say yes and no. Yes, in the fact that it can inspire video games from it. No, as in the fact, as we talked about this earlier, it's hard to translate a pen and paper to a video game because you have to dumb it down very much for it to work in the video game world. I think tabletop gaming is its own separate genre.
No,
of gaming.
like in the modern day
Oh.
of gaming, is pen and paper gaming still relevant?
I would say yeah.
Very.
I would
Yeah.
say very relevant.
I think so too, because there's really no replacement for the experience. Because
it's like email. Like email, everybody thought email would eventually go away. Email is still widely used.
Yeah.
Same with tabletop. You think everybody would be fine with online gameplay and online RPGs. People still like to gather around with their friends in person.
I think that's the key, is you're with your friends in the same room. You're hanging out with your friends while you're gaming.
It's a fun time. You can go grab some pizza, grab some drinks, and just...
like we do all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it's more creative than a lot of video games.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
not
is.
limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At all. That was a... Anyone have any particular, like, stories they liked, or...
Yes. There was, so I played a D&D hybrid. It was called S4T, Search for Traps.
Which is incidentally something rogues should always do.
Yep.
Always.
And it was a very comedic type of D&D. There was one dungeon crawl that we did.
Wait, is this the Necromancer Priest one?
Yes.
Oh my god.
So,
Love this story.
It's very comedic. You have a lot of freedom, and it's a little bit different from D&D. So you start out always at a dungeon entrance. So it makes things simpler, and you just want to go dungeon crawl. You play S4T. So we're playing S4T. I was a necromancer. Along with me, we had a priest, a halfling rogue, a ogre barbarian, and I think we had a neutral knight as well. So we enter the dungeon. The rogue, okay, I search for traps. He searches for traps. The GM says, yes, there is one big... Wait, no. We see the artifact that we're going into this dungeon to get just as we enter the dungeon. So it's right there.
It's suspicious.
This can't be.
And,
This is
and
too
the rogue's
easy.
like, okay, I search for trap. Yes, there is one big fat trap. Do not touch the artifact. The ogre, I touched the artifact. And the floor falls out from in between us. All magic users are separated from combat users. Combat users
Well, crap.
fall into a room with two undefined monsters. What do? Okay, enter combat. The rogue's like, are my daggers going to do anything to him? The GM, nope, they're not going to do anything. Okay, I insult their mother for emotional damage. Okay, roll. Alright, you do 5,000.6 emotional damage. Ogre. No, the knight's like, okay, I throw my sword at it. And it's like, okay, you do 500 damage. To the first one. And the ogre's like, huh, how much health does the first one have left? 59,500 left. Jesus Christ, what are we fighting? I said two undefined monsters. It's like, okay, we're booking it out of here. So they start running, and the rogue, okay, I placed a trap. Yeah, no, those aren't doing anything. Ogre, okay, I pick up the halfling and throw it at the monsters. Okay, they stop to eat him. And you guys get away. You meet up with your magic users, and tell each other what happened. The priest and me look at each other. Dibs on the halfling's corpse! We run back, the monsters aren't there, we find the halfling, roll to see who gets there first. I get there first. I raise him back from the dead, and make him my own little pocket halfling dancer.
Jesus.
And so we're just having these awesome laughs.
It's one of my favorite stories.
These are so many.
I just love it's like your first move is we can't do any damage to him. I'm gonna assault his mother.
Emotional damage. And so many of our adventures are like this. Later on in that adventure, we find some goblin king that we're supposed to kill. And we're like, okay, we go to our ogre. He's like, okay, I go to charge him. Well, a wall falls down separating you guys. I charge through the wall. I was like, all right, well, you have to roll 2 d20s and get 20 twice. What does he do? Rolls 2 d20s, gets it twice, bursts through the wall. There he's like, shit, well, he starts running away, and another wall falls down. I burst through that one, too. Potion of strength, burst through that one. I was like, crap, come on, stop. Another wall falls down, burst through that one. He's like, okay, fine. Floor falls down underneath the ogre, and there's
More
2
walls.
and falls into a chamber all by himself with 3 non-defined monsters. Shit!
And then he died.
And so that's so many S14 stories like that.
Well, go, Matthew.
Okay, I have 2 in mind. Both are from one's my brother has GM'd. One, when we were over in Chicago, we did a Skyrim RP, and
Was this the Leggett?
Oh, actually, no, because I don't remember much of that happened. It was just kind of an overview. I was basically a
Tanky tank McTank.
standard paladin imperial. My brother was a jackass who used illusion all the time
To pay for things.
Our cousin Christopher was a conjurer, and our cousin Nick was a crazy vampire hunter. Oh my god! And for some reason, almost every time my opponents missed.
Yeah, he had like this aura of missing, and it was really bad. Okay, so one of these times in particular, we were in a pretty bad fight, and he decides, I'm gonna throw my sword at one. Whoom! Hits him in the top of the head, instant kill. The one throw my shield at the other guy. Boom! Next shot, kill.
Nice.
And then my cousin Christopher and I, we both use telekinesis to bring the weapons back to him. And he just goes, boom, and just grabs them calmly out of the air. Turns to the last guy and goes, do you really want to fight me? And the guy's like, I'm gonna leave now.
I really regret this decision.
Part of the thing that made me really happy about it was that the one I threw my sword into was attacking my brother. The one I threw the shield into was attacking my cousin Christopher.
I will defend these people with your life.
And then our cousin Christopher, he was trying to conjure a familiar, and he rolled a 1 on a d20 system, so he actually conjured a spectral werewolf.
No, sorry.
No.
Fluffy
the Wonderwolf.
It is a 1 on a d20 on a d12 system. No, it was d20.
Yeah.
But we were rolling low as opposed to most games where you want to roll high. So he rolls a 1, which is basically like a natural 20.
Yeah.
So instead of summoning a ghostly wolf like it's familiar, it's a werewolf that does d20 damage.
And my favorite part is that eventually we were attacking this bandit hideout, and there was like one guy left, and I finally got to ride the werewolf into battle.
Nice.
Yeah, this badass paladin riding a werewolf into battle, and the guy's like, I'm gonna die.
And then my second story, because that was actually kind of one, was during the medieval one with it was me, my brother, and my dad were doing it.
Was it me?
Yes, it was my brother's character, Grindel the Goblin Jester. He was very good at his job, which happened to be falling down.
I rolled. This is one where we were rolling high, and my stealth roll, first roll of the game, natural 1. Well, I know how this game is going to go. And so the guard was alerted to our presence. I skedaddled and left the other two, to get caught. And then I tried to vault up into the tree. Natural 1. I go through the tree, hit a couple of branches, land on my head on the other side. It was a very painful experience.
Oh, I do have 2 quick ones. It was in the Supernatural RP.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
We were hunting a Rougarou.
Which can only be hurt with fire.
Yeah, and it was you... It was Josh, Matt, James Clifford?
No,
Max.
and
Max.
Logan.
Max? No.
Yeah. Logan Strand. This was the one where he was there.
Oh, okay, and I. And, so to kill a Rougarou, you gotta kill it with fire. Josh has a contact in the RP where he gets a striker shotgun and Dragon's Breath rounds.
It's a military contact.
We use the mini bar to create Molotovs. So, at the end of this RP, the Rougarou busts into our hotel room in the middle of the night through the window, and we roll for initiative, and it goes Josh, Matt, and I.
No, it was me. It was Josh, Jake, Rougarou, Matt. Because later on, Matt got a stunt and seized the initiative, which put him at the top of the order, so we attacked twice.
And so we roll. You get like a 2 or a 3, and we're rolling for low here.
Yeah.
So you hit with a shotgun. I think I rolled a natural 1. and so I just nail him with some Molotovs, and then I forgot we.
Well, it's because he had tried to tackle the Ruguru, forgetting that fire was the only thing that could damage it. So I grabbed his gun.
Yeah.
And my gun skill was pretty much the highest it could get.
And he just walks up and calmly fires 2 Dragon's Breath rounds into this thing. And we timed it because each action takes about 5 seconds. It took us 1 minute and 30 seconds to kill this thing.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things where it jumped in. It's like, I immediately regret this decision.
My favorite part about that was
I got blown right back out
is that
the
I
window.
play charisma characters a lot.
Yeah, and he was playing a charisma character who just happened to decimate with this shotgun.
Nice.
It was kind of like Ruger. I just imagine this playing out from a movie, and you see the side of the hotel. Ruger jumps in. You're like a minute 30 seconds later, boom! Ruger falls out.
And then you said you had another one.
Yeah, it was the Harry Potter RP that Josh, his dad, and I played.
That was a funny one.
It was when we were attacking the Tower of London. We realized, at least on that day, our magic sucks, and we suck at casting
We were
magic.
not doing well.
There was 5 total enemies. I think 4 of those we killed by punching them off their brooms or kicking them.
Or getting rid of their brooms somehow. I killed one by blowing up his broom.
We didn't do any. In no way did we kill them with magic. We killed them with physical contact.
That was the funniest thing in the
That
world.
was a pretty fun.
My favorite one is the very last one was this really tough Death Eater who was really canny too.
Yeah.
And Jake ends up just punching him off the Tower of London.
Yep.
Okay. I do actually have 2 more I just remembered.
Okay.
One was also in the Supernatural RP. The short version was we were trying to get rid of a very, very angry ghost.
Oh, was this the serial killer?
Yeah, this is the one where I stabbed myself.
Was I wasn't in on this one. Was I?
Yeah, you were.
It was the one where Ashley was getting possessed, and I was down and trying to...
Oh yeah.
When he became the most hardcore character in the world.
And I was downstairs in the boiler in a bar trying to get the last remains, which was the serial killer's gun, into the boiler.
Oh, so let's remember this one.
Yeah. It was in Texas.
Yeah.
And his solution was to try and possess me. Okay, will resist. Passed the first one. I was like, all right, I can do this. Failed the second one. And we were fighting control over my body. I had no way to get him out, so my response was, ghosts don't like silver. Stab myself in the chest with a silver dagger. Mm-hmm. It worked.
Yeah. The ghost was like, this guy's way too hardcore for me.
And as a side to that one, my character also has an iron ring, so I got in a boxing match with the ghost. And then my other one was in a Star Wars one. I play charisma characters a lot. It was our first mission.
Mentioned.
Yeah, it was our first mission to...
Oh my god.
Was
it like 3 20s in a row?
It was 20, 16, 18, 20, 16. And I just talked my way through the entire mission to the point where our cousin made us fight a bunch of Shiraks in a mine. She's like, okay, I want to see some combat here.
Yeah, he did that just so we would have a taste of combat.
Nice.
And it was literally... Well, I was going to have you guys do some space combat, but Matthew talked our way out of it.
Goddamn space combat.
That was the worst thing in the world.
All right, I'm done telling stories.
Oh, you got one more?
I do have one more question.
Because we're running a bit long. So.
Yeah. Who all, if you guys know any, have any particularly desired pen and paper games? Like there's Dungeons and Dragons, there's all sorts of that. There's Pathfinder. Do you have any favorites and or ones that you like that you want to get?
We haven't played any traditional ones, so
Fair.
I mean,
That's fair.
I don't really, and like I said, I'm new to this, so I don't know a lot about them. I really know only about D&D.
Yeah.
So I'm really not interested in anything else at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, D&D's annoyingly complicated. I just like how simple
Jorbka?
Jorbka.
Which means Josh's role-playing game.
It was named by Jocelyn, I believe.
Yeah.
I just like how simple and easy and entertaining that is.
It's like the Atari 2600.
I'm really okay with not getting any standard ones just because I like how we do our RPGs.
Yeah.
Because, again, we get to have more influence on it that way.
We follow typical, what I imagine is typical and basic tabletop rules.
Yeah.
But we also, with this, and it kind of goes back to the whole, we get to create our own universe here.
For me, I actually do have 2 of them that I really want.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is called Cthulhu by Gaslight.
Right. That was
It's
awesome.
Well, no, it's like Call of Cthulhu. So you're trying to stop a bunch of cultists from summoning Cthulhu or something like that. This one is set in Victorian London,
Oh, that sounds cool.
but it also has stats for if you want to have a celebrity cameo. Oscar Wilde, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, all these authors and stuff of the genre, and even it also gets into there are stats for The Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dracula,
Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper,
Nice.
Spring Heel Jack.
Spring Hill.
Oh,
And Martians.
You remember War of the Worlds? Yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, like, it gives stats for Martians from War of the Worlds. It gives stats for the war machines that the Martians use. So you could literally just forego the Cthulhu stuff and have League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So, like, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, your characters, Dracula, team up against the Martians.
That sounds awesome.
I'm game.
Yeah, I'm okay with
The
that.
other one is from a book series that I'm a huge fan of, and I know my brother is. The book is called Ghost of a Chance. And the subtitle is An Adventure in Xanth.
What?
Yeah, Xanth. Okay, Xanth is a fantasy world where, everybody has a magic talent, yada yada. But I didn't know, and it's been around for a very long time, but I didn't know there actually is a tabletop game based off of it. And I really want it. Because
awesome.
It's really cool. So,
Matt's
yeah.
about to lose his shit right now.
Well, yeah, but it's because, yeah.
I've been reading these books since 4th grade and I never knew this.
Yeah, I just found it out too. So,
I'm gonna say that's probably gonna wrap it up.
that's all I got.
It was fun having you guys back on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
No
guys
problem.
are,
Guys
like
had
I
some great
said,
input.
always welcome. We really appreciate your input. It was some great stuff today. It was some great content. We don't have an episode for next week.
Not yet. Stay tuned.
We'll throw it out on the Facebook and the Tumblr. But for now, I'm gonna have to say that's about it for us.
yeah.
And we gotta
roll some 20s.
we got some D20s to roll.
Yeah. So time to sign off.
Time to sign off.
Peace out.
Bye.